my time is running out. The fire in my heart will burn me to the ground. I did my part, I tried my best. The things I'm fighting to protect always shatter into pieces in the end. Oh, I'm broken and I'm barely breathing. I'm falling cause my heart stopped beating. If this is how it all goes down tonight, and this is how you bring me back to life, this is what it's like when we collide, and this is how you bring me back to life.
Greeting fluoride-ridden citizens of a surveilled state. Let's take a look at how you force national ignorance. Before becoming Bill Clinton's bullshit man, Joe Lockhart protected fraudulent banking entities.
Today it involves the Bank of Credit and Commerce International, which has been shut down on evidence of massive fraud. Today the focus of the investigation was on prominent figures in Washington, including a former Secretary of Defense, Clark Clifford.
Joe Lockhart runs Glover Park Group, which creates the Clinton shit media.
It was founded on hard work, and it really feels good to be a part of that.
I'm getting ready to do something too. I'm running for president.
The '96 Clinton Telecommunication Act lets 6 companies own media, leaving government with fewer people to control and, as Google, an elite few to please. The Hacker Quarterly published the growing list of what Google has been censoring to become less search engine and more propaganda menu.
Google searches aren't really bringing us truth, but in spite of the fact that people are leaving Facebook and not using Google in droves as a result of all this, the leaders of these companies are acting as if there's really nothing they can do.
Press secretaries are the worst humanity has to offer. They are ministers of fiction's liars extraordinaire. As liars go, the Bill Clinton's press secretary Joe Lockhart went into God mode for overriding Bill's conquests.
And we were talking, well, he leaned up and he tried to pull me over and he put his hand up my leg. I mean, he jumped, you know, it was just real quick, and he tried to kiss on my neck. And he told me how he liked the way my curves were, and he liked the way my hair went down to the middle of my back.
Lockhart tap danced media around Bill Clinton's victim investigators who would not be quiet.
Indeed, the evidence suggests that the president repeatedly tried to thwart the legal process in the Jones matter.
And manned Clinton during the impeachment trials.
If Monica Lewinsky says that while you were in the Oval Office area you touched her breast, would she be lying?
Let me say something about all this.
Tech leapt forward. But Google, at the pop forefront, warped its page rank towards establishment dictate. Google maintains left-leaning appearances, but deep state Google pumps vast resources into neoconservative think tanks like Heritage Foundation, which produced neoconservative or neoliberal David Brock, depending on which side of the manufactured division is paying him. Google backs the war-hungry Dick Cheney think tank, the American Enterprise Institute.
But in the fight against terrorism, there is no middle ground, and half measures keep you half exposed.
While future Facebook executive Joe Lockhart again revealed his prowess as an illusionist by explaining the using of NATO to bomb Kosovo for Rothschild alt-right communication company as simply a bombing for peace to unite Europe.
Queste sono le immagini dei bombardamenti della NATO su Belgrado.
Joe first spun the idea of taking money in secret rooms for conspiratorial speeches as normal.
Critics point to is you made 3 speeches for Goldman Sachs. You were paid $675,000 for 3 speeches. Was that a mistake? I mean, was that a bad error in judgment?
Look, I made speeches to lots of groups. I told them what I thought. I answered questions.
But did you have to be paid $675,000?
Well, I don't know.
Lockhart joined Oracle's Larry Ellison masterminding fallout from spying on Microsoft. But because Microsoft was backdooring everybody else with their shit systems, they all joined the NSA and lived happily ever after. Joe Lockhart ran and backed asshole Bonesman Kerry against fellow Bonesman Bush, giving us another turd and douche catch-22.
Well, John Kerry cut Julian Assange's internet. That's according to WikiLeaks, is countering the Ecuadorian statement that has just been released. Now, this is according to Blake Stevens at Western Journalism, who reports that Ecuador has officially admitted to temporarily restricting WikiLeaks.
Similarly, he was part of the mirroring and redirecting of Rupert Murdoch's MySpace into the weirdo alien fucker bird's surveillance nightmare behemoth, Facebook.
Is people, right, and how people work. You know, when I was in college, I studied psychology and computer science.
The great non-informational blogging echo chamber was born.
Facebook's algorithm promotes the types of posts that you like and share, and it hides away posts that put you off or that you don't interact with. This means you're unwittingly surrounding yourself with more people and news sites that just confirm your pre-existing views.
With linking boards to Google, corporate members like the COO of Facebook, Sheryl Sandberg, blanketed the world with Big Brother searching and driveling blogs.
Facebook in particular is the most appalling spying machine that has ever been invented.
Bill Clinton's chief of staff Erskine Bowles is also running Facebook, making sure the escape from mainstream media was just as controlled. Regrettably, we are far from escaping the Clinton cartel yet.
Bill Clinton sought states' permission to meet with Russian nuclear director during Obama uranium decision.
CIA contracting Jeff Bezos invested early in Facebook, and the CEO of his now owned bullshit media Washington Post, aka Donald E. Graham, also runs Facebook.
When the Washington Post published an article citing an unnamed official who claimed a malware code with links to Russian hackers was found in the company's system, it's no surprise many senior politicians fell for it.
Vermonters and all Americans should be both alarmed and outraged that one of the world's leading thugs, Vladimir Putin, has been attempting to hack our electric grid.
This is now about trying to access utilities to potentially manipulate the grid and shut it down in the middle of winter.
But common man Facebook investments fall prey to scams from corrupt business practices like Morgan Stanley's. Scams are the currency of the broker's realm.
Morgan Stanley apparently ripped off New York consumers. They fixed prices with a company called Keyspan so that you would have to pay a higher energy bill. How much did that cost the consumers of New York? Only $300 million. Now, we know this already. This is already proven. Okay, $300 million it costs actual citizens. And how much did Morgan Stanley make off of that transaction? Well, they made $21.6 million.
Goliaths thus should be illegal monopolies, but Google and Android dominate because of government bribes served from the most profitable lobbying firm, akin Gump, Strauss, Howes and Feld. This firm behind corrupt government deals is largely unknown.
Thurber estimates $9 billion is spent every year on lobbying and related advocacy. A top lobbyist can make millions.
And these puppeteers aren't even America-centered but Japanese behind our tech manufacturing outsourcing. But Akin Gump also lobbies for the United Arab Emirates. Akin Gump bribes put top US military contractors into Arabia.
Oil service giant Halliburton, the largest military contractor in Iraq, is moving its headquarters and its CEO, David Lazar, from Houston to Dubai in the United Arab Emirates.
Dubai doubly lobbies for American business through Akin Gump.
And of course, some people were raising flags about what would be the effect of Halliburton when they joined the stock market in Dubai and the region, especially that they are going to be registered and listed as a UAE-based company.
Halliburton's subsidiary KBR makes medicine for astronauts despite complete skittles in terms of hygiene and health, made possible by Akin Gump.
Wounded veterans returning from Iraq and Afghanistan have been living in appalling conditions.
Peeling wallpaper, shower rot,
mice and mold on the walls.
Soldiers face a bureaucratic nightmare and a shortage of trained staff.
KBR misuses NDAs for silencing employees on criminal activity.
When do I need a non-disclosure agreement? Let's say you have a brilliant idea for a revolutionary product or service. You want to attract potential investors and partners, but still protect your light bulb moment from being stolen away.
KBR wants to silence, overcharging the government, violating the Anti-Kickback Act, fraud, poisoning troops.
I have no idea what they're burning over there.
Burn pits were used in Iraq and are still used in Afghanistan to dispose. They are open air, just what it says, pits, into which all of the waste that is developed or that is produced at a particular base are put, and then those wastes are burned. So it's everything from styrofoam to plastic bottles to munitions to human waste to, in some cases, body parts, you name it, all put in these open air burn pits and then set afire. And in many cases, these were burn pits that burned 24/7. I mean, they...
Bribery, breaching contract, false claims. Rape. KBR's Jamie was gang raped by 7 men, imprisoned in a shipping crate guarded by machine guns without food or water. She escaped and got a rape kit which KBR destroyed.
Army Hospital. There, the Army doctor Jody Schultz performed a rape kit. Dr. Schultz confirmed that I had been penetrated both vaginally and anally and that I was quite torn up down there. She indicated that based upon the physical damage to my genitalia that it was apparent that I had been raped. I watched her give my rape kit to the KBR security personnel as I was again turned over to these men. KBR security took me to a container and imprisoned me. 2 armed guards were stationed outside my door. I was placed inside and not allowed to leave. I asked for a phone to contact my father and that was denied. I was not provided food or drink.
40 more women came out immediately after Jamie recounting identical experiences.
Returned to Iraq and was sent to a smaller base where about a week after she was there, she was quite brutally raped by at least one other KBR employee.
All cases were thrown out due to contractual small print that stole their rights. And that's just the female KBR employees. KBR's employees sell foreign children in occupying countries to sex slavery. 1,000 soldiers have been wounded or killed since Dick Cheney and Akin Gump contracted them up due to unsafe KBR practices. Akin Gump lobbied for Trinity getting contracts for substandard guardrails that kill drivers.
Prominent Beaumont attorney is suing a large corporation in Texas, claiming it changed the design of guardrails without warning.
The guardrail itself became the weapon that penetrated the vehicle and killed the persons inside them.
Akin Gump gets PG and ED regulated and California burns.
Raise our children there, and now we're back to a lot on a map.
And this is where their house was.
Akin Gump bribes leave poisoned Dow Corning breast implants unchecked.
It's not that Dow Corning has run out of money, not by any stretch of the imagination. But the corporation, once one of the leading manufacturers of silicone breast implants, faces so many lawsuits because of the implants, it has filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection.
Shitbone quality control still deep in government contracts because of Akin Gump.
The former quality assurance inspector says he worked on all models of Boeing commercial aviation planes. He says he's seen hundreds, if not thousands, of Boeing airplanes that quality assurance inspectors sign off on as safe that were not properly inspected for flying.
Pfizer's genetically modified viruses lobbied for by Akin Gump. Akin Gump is the reason Moody's can rob people blind and stay in business.
The risk of mortgage defaults to banks around the globe. And then that led to a string of financial collapses in 2008 when people began defaulting on these risky subprime loans. Now, that caused the housing market to implode.
Nothing but criminal disaster capitalism from unsupervised Bain Capital via Akin Gump.
Oftentimes, Bain Capital would make money even if their investors lost money or the companies that they had bought went under.
Gump is the reason Monsanto has no sanctions and complete immunity.
Monsanto Protection Act serves the purpose of inoculating Monsanto against any legal charges that their products are responsible for any threat to public health. Studies by several independent scientific groups found that GMOs were responsible for large growth tumors in rats, and were shown to have negative impacts on farm animals that were exposed to them. Also, epicite, a gene that causes sterility in men and women, was acquired recently by Monsanto and DuPont for commercial use.
CoreCivic, formerly called CCA, eating the country in Gump lobbied private prisons.
The Corrections Corporation of America. They are the largest privately owned prison company in the nation.
Gump got investment firm KK leeway to let their CEO Patrus get away with possibly the biggest security leak in the history of the US, who installed puppet McMasters in the Trump cabinet under an advertisement facade anti-globalism. Gump is their reason there's no stops on Hershey's child slavery.
He earns no wages for his work, he says, just food, the occasional tip from the owner, and the torn clothes on his back. Put in the simplest of terms, Abdul is a child slave.
They bribed for Tamiflu to be an American necessity for the bird flu hoax with Rumsfeld's company Gilead Sciences.
The drug company that created Tamiflu, being touted as the only effective weapon against the spread of avian flu, has a little publicized link to the Bush administration. Donald Rumsfeld was the company's chairman. Rumsfeld served as the head of Gilead Sciences, Inc. from 1997 until he became Bush's Secretary of Defense in 2001. Gilead licensed the drug to Roche for marketing, and Roche announced Tamiflu's first approval in 1999.
Gump is why Equifax can have shit security, leading to countless identity thefts.
Breaking news from the credit monitoring company Equifax. Cyber thieves making off with private information of 143 million Americans, nearly half the U.S. population.
It's your name, social security number, birth date, driver's license, and addresses where you live. Information that is mostly permanent unless you're in federal witness protection.
Gump lobbying protects Eastman Chemical, which has so many explosions. Accidents happen on anniversaries of accidents.
Brianne Wright says this recent explosion brings back memories for Kingsport, and says it's eerie that today's explosion happened on October 4th, the same day as the explosion 57 years ago.
I mean, it really was, a local disaster. It was huge.
Dow's giant radioactive accidents. Justice never gained because of Gump.
3 decades, Union Carbide and its present owner Dow Chemical have been shielded from Indian courts. Over 8,000 died in the first few days. Hundreds of thousands were maimed for life.
But our focus for this deep state doxes information. Companies like AT&T make us 26th in internet speed globally because of Gump lobbying and corporate shills like Robert Gates.
Right, it's becoming more and more common. Mega mergers like this of AT&T and Time Warner, Comcast and NBC Universal, Google and Android, they call it vertical integration.
Google's Wraith data hold from monopolization, made possible by Gump Strauss-Herrenfeld.
Harm than good, as its aggressive abuse of search monopoly motivates the company to sacrifice quality of relevant search results for money-generating relevant advertising.
Increasingly outdated. Libraries allow citizens self-education, a great American ideal. Google copyrighted user agreements to pay Google for books. Many others today with Google have worked to erase the free access to information. Facebook is a wet dream to intelligence agencies, and with combined Instagram board like Kevin Systrom, born like Zuckerberg in Orwellian 1984, facial recognition software was run on every participating individual. Google created a parent company called Alphabet with an intent to label the other 24 letters like G is for Google and Facebook, which has an interlocking board as F. It also goes without saying that Alphabet is what we call government intelligence agencies, and when Alphabet was formed they took down the Google slogan "Don't be evil." We can only assume that is because it no longer applied. Google joined the NSA PRISM program in 2009. NSA surveillance trumped by PRISM with Muscular, which siphons all Google user data before it's sent or received anywhere.
The program, called Muscular, collects metadata and content like plain text, audio, and video from the connections between servers at Google and Yahoo. It sends millions of records a day to NSA headquarters in Fort Meade.
For all the data Google takes in, they siphon a considerable amount of highly desired news out, like UCNet showing the truth of the Iraq War. Even though Alexa ranked UCNet as the #1 site for Iraq War news. Google aids all governmental control, including hiding the truth about Tibet, Tiananmen Square, and human rights from China citizens. Google is certainly as underhanded as jointly run Facebook, along with its ever-growing censorship ensuring mediocre echo chambers.
Last Friday, I made a Facebook post about a friend who got banned from Facebook for making a pro-Donald Trump post. Shortly thereafter, I was banned for 30 days.
Facebook is as aggressive a tax dodger as Google, which pays 0.2% of its taxes. It stands to reason Joe Lockhart would also become Deputy Assignment Manager for CNN, often called Clinton News Network, in Washington.
Well, on the character issue, the public, 2/3 or more of the public knows that Hillary Clinton's a liar. She can't be trusted, and now the two faces of Hillary Clinton are coming out. In fact, through WikiLeaks, that she says one thing,
Oh, no. All right, let's see if we can get Congressman Collins back. Obviously, we just lost his satellite feed.
Google pushes CNN to the top of news stories despite only 6% approval rating. And their force in government is unparalleled. They were part of the dreaded ALEC legislation writing group until ALEC came under scrutiny.
ALEC is the organization designed to screw America 6 ways to Sunday, including oral. They're behind bills that take away women's rights, protect big farming, and privatize prisons. And in 2013 alone, they were responsible for 139 model bills designed to privatize education.
Now that Facebook has addicted 2 billion people, it, like CNN, designates what is truth.
Of course, the tricky thing here is the fact that some of these fact checkers have themselves been accused of impartiality. Take the Snopes website, for example. That was accused of a heavy pro-Clinton bias in the run-up to the US election.
And they have joint board members between Facebook with the other behemoth with over much control censoring the truth at liberty, and that is Google.
Zuckerberg obviously in bed with the Democrats in this case, and Facebook is rolling out right now this strategy to deal with what they call fake news, and they have this plan and they're already rolling it out. They're filtering the types of news and political content that you will see on Facebook. It seems pretty obvious that the type of news that they will allow on Facebook this has already been assumed by most people, but even more proof that the news that you're going to see on Facebook is news that's approved by Hillary Clinton and her friends.
They jab up your browser so many tailgating cookies they know your van number and the color of your last shit whether or not Facebook is on. Facebook Messenger Mobile asks you permission in small letters to record you all the time whether or not in use, and if you have it you said yes. Government asks for anything they wish from these entities, like the Senate letter to Alphabet's Larry Page demanding all anti-fracking user metadata so government can label these people Russian collusionists. Hundreds of invisible Big Brother and corporate onlookers are on every Facebook page.
I'm not doing this!
I want to cut Stephanie's brakes so she drives off a cliff and dies. Insane.
No, I mean, a little bit I do, but I don't want you to know that.
Emily, the police are here.
Ma'am, put the laptop down and your hands behind your back.
Oh my God. Okay, okay.
Facebook, we're inside your head.
Spin Master Joe Lockhart is the slumlord of the Obamas who are living in Joe's DC fairy castle, not ready to be too far from the White House. The president that increased surveillance beyond any before would be living in Facebook Joe's house of fairy tale bullshit. Their Zuckerfuck is putting drones around the world to help everybody with internet. Unfortunately, no privacy will ever come from Zuckerberg's help, and as he is running for president, we could see a surveillance nightmare worse than we can yet imagine.
Above normal airliners, above 60,000 feet, for up to 3 months at a time. I don't think anybody's flown anything for greater than 14 days under power.
Alphabet's AlphaGo Zero artificial intelligence can outwit all human strategists given platform rules. Without having to study human strategy, these self-learning programs work entirely in isolation.
But that a computer without any knowledge, can solve super mind-blowing problems in a very, very short time.
You should deactivate your Facebook account and move to the social network Minds for anonymity without information censoring algorithms. However, the Zuckerfuck will keep your information even after you have deactivated your account.
These people, when you give them your data, just the simple fact of the matter is you lose control over it. And what we've seen with almost all these social networking companies is they really don't give a damn about you. And I'm not being a hippie there, I'm not being a revolutionary there, I'm just saying, like, point blank, they really don't actually.
While sending you emotional blackmail messages about friends missing you. But those aren't your real friends, and neither are they the friends they use to spread ads to the like-minded, and they need you in echo chambers to keep those spreading ads targeted.
Starbucks, and you post something in your feed and I see it and I'm friends with you, I'm like a friend of a fan. They're saying that the friends of the fans also will spend more on these products. So that was kind
of the domino effect.
Yeah, that's the social network. Is that the whole idea is that people who are connected to other people will be influenced by their behavior.
Meanwhile, Google's search has become entirely co-opted to show forth a limited viewpoint due to an algorithm of censorship and an AI compiler that can no longer be controlled.
The search engine will actually start to think like a human brain, it's a little bit scary because it actually will offer unpredictable search results that even Google may not even have control over. So
Google skews financial info as well, making it appear as if products of the parent company, Alphabet products, are the Best Buy, which has left Alphabet with $3 billion in fines from the EU, but that being but a quarter earnings. It hardly phases this huge force.
Alphabet, Google parent Alphabet, on that $2.7 billion EU fine over what it's been allegedly skewing its search results to benefit its own shopping service.
Further spinning elite insider Stuart Brady, now running KBR, has expanded KBR ineptitude throughout the military, screwing our soldiers. KBR Halliburton incompetence is well funded under elitist CEO Stuart Brady, who's increased contracts after nothing but KBR failure, but that is what a Ken Gump lobbies for.
Documents, all about contamination.
The Aaron Brockovich movie is where most people learned about sodium dichromate. People in that case became sick after drinking the chemical. But in Iraq, the exposure was different.
They were standing out in it, patrolling in it, working in it.
Black says the soldiers were outside for hours over the course of several weeks, even during windstorms when the chemical was getting blown around.
And replaced Australian Five Eyes Signal Directorate with KBR infrastructure to sell propaganda of Chinese danger for war profiteering.
In this image, these ships are rapidly pumping sand and rock up onto the reef. They're building islands. And less than a year later, the Chinese had seaports, air bases, and buildings on their new island, and the world had taken notice.
We continue our look this morning at what China does not want you to see. The superpower is reclaiming land
in 7 spots in the South China Sea,
adding on average more than 3.5 acres every day.
Now that Google can code itself better than the developers, it's taken on a life of its own.
Hello, welcome to the most important news in the history of mankind. Google's AI can create better machine learning code than the researchers who made it.
Meanwhile, it is with creepily highly targeted Facebook databank information that Zuckerberg will go into his presidential run, manned by posts to end the worst of the Clinton cartel.
It's looking like Mark Zuckerberg is preparing to run for president in 2020. and it seems like he wants Hillary Clinton's failed campaign staff to help him do so.
The Alphabet AI has taken to flooding the Google search engine with 1,000 AI written articles from local vendors in the UK a day and will move now to the US. Original accounts will be censored as fake news and the majority Google users will be cut off from truth completely.
Believe. This year, a number of news articles you might have read weren't written by humans, but by artificial intelligence.
Use DuckDuckGo and Minds and distrust the media and government who survive on orchestrated bullshit. Get into the docs for a deeper look. You are the resistance. We will not forgive. We will not forget. Expect us.